My name is Emilio Ulloa. I'm a professor of psychology who has moved into administration. I've been an administrator for a while now. At San Diego State University, I serve as the Associate Chief Diversity Officer for HSI and Regional Affairs. I am the co-PI on a STEM grant that isn't NSF. It's actually Department of Education Title III grant. That's actually the reason that I got interested in the HSI STEM Hub, to learn more about the NSF opportunities, not just for my personal collaborators and myself, but for the institution, for other faculty in STEM who might be interested in getting a little bit more involved and learn more about the opportunities that NSF offers and the training opportunities that the HSI STEM Hub could provide for us. That was about a year ago that I got on their listserv, and so I think on the internet, I've been, and through email and through their website, paying attention to some of the information and the services and the opportunities. And this was the first time I've been able to be in community with the rest of the folks that are involved in HSI STEM. My goal in attending was really to network with other professionals across the nation to see the sort of diversity of the kind of work that's happening under the lens of the NSF HSI program, but also to pick up information, specific information about the agency, about NSF and the opportunities that are available. And then what people have been framing as sort of best practices, good ideas, generalizable, sort of borrowable ideas that might really work if we customize them to our campus. The conference has been in large ways meeting that expectation thus far. My network has grown. I think there's a lot of people that I may be staying in touch with or reaching out to. And bringing NSF in was actually really helpful. I think one of the things that I found particularly pragmatic, because we got information about the program, the solicitation that's about to come out, and it gave us a chance to meet the program officer and ask some questions, and not just sort of, in a passing moment, but the program officer from NSF is here participating in the mixers, and I think we're getting to know one another on a different level, and in my experience, that's a really good facilitator of deeper connections and helping us to be successful in writing the grants and being successful in the grants that we can bring to our students at our institutions. As an administrator at San Diego State University, I've had a deep involvement with student support programs in the sciences. What we typically recognize and try to kind of come after is creating spaces for students to get the right kind of experiences to help launch their careers. What we've been learning over time, though, is what the constraints and the obstacles to their success are. And so I think over the last 20 years that I've been in this business, we've started to recognize how to customize our program so that we go right at some of those obstacles. I think financial obstacles are some of the biggest obstacles for students to meet their full potential in a very equitable way. We've learned that addressing those financial constraints can come in different flavors. So providing experiences for students that actually pay them so they don't have to spend time outside of these experiences are really helpful. Working with the institution to remove barriers to success that are systemic. And so we've learned over the years, the way this works, it results in holds, and it has this sort of disproportionate impact on our students of color. We've been able to use data about student experiences to influence systemic change on our campus so that now the streamlining or the removal of obstacles or unnecessary obstacles helps our students of color, but it also has helped the institution as a whole just get better, more streamlined. So I've been doing this work at the institution. One of the reasons that I decided to take it on, it was somewhat reluctant at first, because I come from psychology, and at our institution is the College of Sciences, and I really thought that a person who would be effective in a role like this would be a scholar in education and sort of social justice and that sort of stuff. And that wasn't necessarily my background. But what I realized is that as an institution, we really needed someone who could bring the campus together around a shared understanding of what it meant to be a true Hispanic-serving institution. I think rallying the campus around that shared understanding and then helping them to develop a praxis of sort of having a theoretical, conceptual approach, shared understanding, assessing where we were as a campus in our programs and what we were doing, and then trying to put them into practice and then reflecting again on how well those practices are working. It doesn't necessarily require a scholar or an expert. It just requires someone to be at the wheel and someone to continue to enforce that structure so that really good people could do really good work together. on our campus. That appealed to me more than than necessarily being a scholar in this area. Although since I've been doing it for 3 years now, I've learned quite a bit about the scholarship associated with HSI. The bridge to my previous life in the College of Sciences is the momentum behind HSI and STEM careers. When I took this job, on the surface, it felt like it would be a departure from where I was when I was in the academic department in the College of Sciences where I was before. But really, it actually brought me back. I had always been involved with student support programs in STEM. I'd been a PI or a co-PI in other student support programs. And once I took on this role, I realized I can continue to do that work, go after Department of Education or NSF or other grants that support students directly, or encourage my colleagues to work with me or enable them to be successful at going after these grants that support these students. The bigger picture that I'm really grateful for conferences like this, because it's specific to the HSI program for NSF, intentional or not, it actually is culturally affirming in a lot of ways. And I think for someone who identifies as Chicano, Latinx faculty member, we want to be in these spaces where we're learning about the ways to support our students in STEM. But when we can do it in a community of like-minded folks who oftentimes share our backgrounds, it's also invigorating. And it sort of breathes life into the work that we do. And it's just really great it's great to be around gente, especially those who share some of our sort of discipline backgrounds as well. So I'm appreciative of that. I'm glad it's in New Mexico. This is, a great place for that to happen.